So welcome to You Are What You Eat with our friend Lee from the Cleveland Museum of Natural History. And you can see it's the Cleveland Museum of Natural History because she has right behind her, she has that sign right there. And she's one of our favorite providers and also has become a participant, boys and girls. I think sometimes you might see Lee. Yeah, I know. You might see Lee turn up in the chat because she comes and she brings her mom and friends, and that's awesome. We just love that. So today's one of it's an amazing presentation. It's called You Are What You Eat. And if you think about it, you are, she'll explain to you what that whole expression means. And just before you guys tuned in, Katie sent me a text and she said, Hallie, you have spinach in your teeth. So if I am what I eat, I would actually have been a spinach pizza. So that was kind of funny, and thanks. And you always know, ladies, you have a good friend if they tell you that there's something in between your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So I'm going to turn it over to Lee because she's going to show you some cool stuff. And again, she will let you know if she's going to show you something real or if it's a model. So if it's real and you don't want to look at it, that's fine. Totally fine. And but Lee will always let you know if it's a real specimen or if it's a plastic specimen from Seymour, right?
You got it.
Because Anita's back at the office.
True.
We will see you in a few minutes. And as always, guys, put your questions in the chat and we're going to be on them and enjoy. You are what you eat.
Thank you. And I got to remind, of course, host master Katie there to work her magic so I can share my screen with you because she has the power of the screen sharing. Oh, there we go. Ta-da. Thank you for that, Katie. And for all my friends who are, what did you say, Jordan? Buy your food, best friends eat your food. Isn't that true? Yeah, that's very true. That people come over to visit and they're like, so what do you have to eat? Well, my friends, usually I am at the museum. You can see the sign behind me, but I brought it home to show that I do work there. And if you want to look up on a map sometime or jump onto Google and find out where in the world is Cleveland, Ohio, that would be fun because I look on maps to see where a lot of my students are from as well. And during today's program, I'm going to be using this camera, but I have another camera that looks sideways across my room. So if you want to toss into the chat and make sure when I switch cameras, if you can see what I'm showing you, that way Katie and Mally can help. And also, Katie and Mally, can you remind me with these sessions, am I rolling till 2:15 my time or all the way till 2:30?
You can go until 2:30. Well, let's see where we're at 2:15 because we all have an art lesson at 3 o'clock.
Oh my gosh, we need a break between, yeah, you got to take a little break from the screen time. So we'll wrap it up at 2:15 or so, unless there's like a bazillion questions going on.
Yeah, and Jean Paul just joined us. So Jean Paul, Abby, and Alice and Jane just joined us too.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Let me scroll the chat down here so I can see everybody's comments. Well, first of all, the question is, why would somebody from a museum, which usually we think about dinosaurs and stuff at a museum, why would I teach a class about food and nutrition? Well, I can give you two examples right now, things that I brought from the museum because I only live about 10 minutes away. And when they told us we were going to be teaching from our homes, I said, oh, I better bring some things home so I can show you real items. And here is an item that is a fossil, but it's a very odd fossil. It's called a coprolite, C-O-P-R-O-L-I-T-E. And a coprolite, I'm going to pause for a moment, just let you all look at that. I'm going to hold it up close to my camera. And if you'd like to type in the chat what you think it is a fossil of, or if you know what a coprolite is, oh, Gabriella, you are absolutely 100% correct. Man, she typed it right. I forgot if everybody can see the chats or not, so I'm just going to hold on for one more second, see if anybody else types something in. Oh, it does look like poop, doesn't it, Gabby? It is poop. Yep. A coprolite is a fossilized piece of poop. Now, do I know exactly what dinosaur pooped this poop out? No, I do not, because I was not alive 67 million years ago. or so when this got pooped out. But we do know that there were a lot of meat-eating dinosaurs, little cousins to Tyrannosaurus rex, that their little skeletons were found in the area of this poop. So we're pretty sure it was a meat-eating dinosaur. Now, how would I know for sure is I would carefully slice it and look at it under a microscope. And then I could see tiny little bits of crunched up bones and teeth and remains from the animals that that dinosaur ate. So I would confirm, this is a meat-eating dinosaur. Or if I found plant material, there you go, it would be a plant-eating dinosaur. This is a broken off chunk. See the inside, you can see some of the minerals that got preserved there. And our scientists have not sliced this one up and looked on the inside of it. So we can assume that it was a meat-eating dinosaur for the time being, but when we slice it up, we'll know for sure. That's one thing we can say is we study nutrition from fossilized animal poop, which is kind of hilarious. But there's another researcher at our museum who studies something in modern times. She studies babies' teeth. And babies' teeth, when a baby is growing inside a mom and she's pregnant with that baby, their teeth are actually formed from the food that the mom is eating. So I'm about to lift up an actual, for real, not kidding, not messing around, real human skull. You can see just the top of it right here. Here is a real human skull that I brought from the museum. Do I know who this person was? No, I do not. I don't know their name. But I do know that the hospitals all around the museum here who take people's bodies, and if that person gave permission before they passed away, that their body could be used at a hospital or at a museum like ours for teaching, then we're allowed to have it. So I appreciate this person's decision to make that happen. And look at the teeth. Some of them are a little bit broken. Yeah, that's because this is a very old skull. Sorry, Charlotte, I totally freaked you out there. But look above the teeth in this top part right there called the maxilla. Your bottom jaw is called the mandible. And this is the maxilla. Can you see those little grooves and wrinkles like right here? Those are the roots of the teeth where they go up in there and they hold that tooth solidly inside the bones of your face. But then when you're a little baby, those teeth actually grow in here and they slowly come down and out of your skull. No, good comment, Melly. Alas, poor whoever this was, I can see that you have broken some of your teeth. And that's kind of neat that your teeth, when you're a brand new baby, when you first get born and you grow your teeth out, that the teeth were made from what your mom was eating because you are connected to your mom by the umbilical cord and you borrow well, you don't borrow, you take all of those minerals from your mom's blood to build your own teeth. And that's what one of our researchers studies at the museum. Is she goes to dentists who collect teeth and she'll take a little baby tooth and she'll study the chemicals that are in there and know what the mom was eating. Whoa. So that means at a museum, yep, we study nutrition, totally. All right, so there's your introduction, and now you know why I'm teaching this stuff. That was not the button I wanted to hit. What I want to hit is the share button. Oh, wait a minute now. Amelia asked, would you want your skull to stay and show other people? Yes, I would. I think that would be fascinating to know that my skeleton someday would be in a museum. People could come and look at it. That would be pretty rad. And Charlotte, I don't know what my mom drank, but I know she told me that she liked very hot and spicy foods and pickles when she was pregnant with me. All right, let me get into my PowerPoint here. Because, there we go. And there is the PowerPoint up large on the screen. And it says, you are what you eat. So the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out, is this accurate or not? How does your food become you? Is there someone that is willing to type into the chat a specific food that you have recently eaten? It could have been this morning, or it could be last night. Where I am, it's already 1:40 in the afternoon. So. Noodles, spinach, there's a bunch of bagels, black beans, awesome. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab because my mom is watching. She ate eggs. I could pick on my mom, but no, mom, I'm gonna pick on one of the kids. That's okay. How about Charlotte? Can I use you as an example of black beans, Charlotte? And if I'm gonna use you, Charlotte, this is your body. Here is mini Charlotte. And I'm sorry, Charlotte, but we have shaved your head and we have removed your skin. And we have taken off the ribs in the front so we can see all of these fantastic internal organs. When you put those black beans or whatever else you ate from everybody else who's typing things in. You chew it up in your mouth for a while. And your salivary glands, they're hanging out here and down here. They're the parts in your mouth that make saliva. They squirt that liquid into your mouth and it starts the process of digestion. As you chew up the food, your saliva gets mixed with all of that food and it gets more slippery, but it also starts to break down some of the carbohydrates that are in your food. And black beans have carbohydrates. So they start breaking down in your mouth. And that's why you make a funny face when you eat something that's really sour, like that, because all of those glands are squeezing and squirting more saliva into your mouth. Then you swallow the food and bloop, it lands inside of your stomach right there. And if you'd like to feel where your stomach is right now, you could take your left hand and park it just sort of next to your belly button on your left side. And that's where your stomach is right there. And your stomach is full of hydrochloric acid. Not a ton of it, just a little bit, enough to start ripping up the food. Hydrochloric acid is nasty stuff. If I was in a lab and I had a beaker full of it right now, I could put an iron nail in there and the iron nail would dissolve in the hydrochloric acid. Whoa. But that's not saying you should eat iron nails. Please do not do that because your stomach does not make enough. Okay, now Charlotte, here we go. Well, I forgot. Yeah, it was Charlotte. After the hydrochloric acid breaks down your food. Oh, you know what else is kind of cool about this? Do you guys like gross stuff? I'm just going to assume you like gross stuff. Is when you throw up, the taste of barf, like, because if you like eat some black beans and then right away it doesn't taste like just the black beans anymore. It has that gross barf taste, right? And that's the hydrochloric acid. It's so powerful, it can make your teeth start dissolving. Ah! And that's why people who have health conditions, if they throw up a lot, they have to be very careful about their teeth. Charlotte, you never knew what you were getting into here. Okay, so then you swallow it and it goes in your stomach and the hydrochloric acid rips it up, then it goes into your intestines and your small intestine dumps a whole bunch more chemicals in there that break the food down into tiny little molecules. And then they can leak out into your blood. And that's how they get reassembled into you. The little protein molecules become parts of your muscles. The little carbohydrate molecules give you energy. They leak out and they're floating around in there. So you really are made of your food. And then this large intestine, basically it's full of lots of bacteria, but good guys, bacteria that help us to break down fiber, help us to make some different vitamins that we need. So they're good bacteria in there. And then we go poop and we get rid of whatever we didn't need. Ta-da! So Charlotte, that is how your black beans actually become part of you. Pretty awesome. They become reassembled once those molecules are breaking down teeny tiny. That is pretty cool. So yes, Mally, even though you didn't swallow that spinach that was in your teeth, if you had, it would have become part of you. And I think that's pretty fun. All right, let's get back into the PowerPoint here. So we took a look at this slide. Then there's this goofy slide that shows a gas tank gauge. Humans don't eat gasoline, I know. But sometimes when you're teaching little kids, you use this kind of phrase, food is fuel, because they understand that means energy. So pop quiz, my friends. Does anybody know there's a word that scientists use to describe the energy from your food, but it's not fuel. It starts with the letter C. And sometimes when people are looking on food containers, they're like, let me see how many of these are in the food, so I know if I want to eat it or if I don't want to eat it, because carbs is close. Cheryl, good answer, because carbohydrates is definitely how our body produces the energy. I'm thinking of another word that starts with the letter C that means how much energy is in the food. It's at the top. Oh, the label, can you see it right there? Dun, dun, dun. If I hold it really still. Calories, yeah. And I know that's kind of confusing because carbohydrate starts with C, calorie starts with C. I totally get it, man. But the thing is here, a calorie is not a thing. I can't hand you a calorie. It's a measurement of how much energy is in that food. And I can show you how we know how much energy is in the food because there's a machine that people use to figure it out. It's called a calorimeter. Now notice on this slide, it says fuel or energy value of a food. That's kind of a fancy way to say it. So if I was working in a lab and somebody said, hey, we have this food here and we need to make a label to put on the package, somebody go in the lab and figure out how many calories are in there. What you would do is you would say, okay, I know that a carbohydrate food, because we've been researching this for a long time, has 4 calories per gram. And a gram is about the size of the end of your pinky finger. And protein, same thing, if it was meat or if it was fats. So you'd have kind of an idea already, but then you'd say, how do I test it? Well, here's how you test it. You put it inside that thing that looks like a paint bucket. And then the metal part coming out the top is a thermometer. And once you put the food in there, you light it on fire. But to make sure that it burns really well, you squirt oxygen in there. So it's burning super fast. Stuff burns. Go on YouTube sometime and watch a video with somebody using liquid oxygen to burn stuff. It's crazy. And that machine right there is called a calorimeter. So it's like the word calorie with meter on the end, meaning you're measuring something. And the little brown box over to the left is the little calculator that says, oh, it got this hot inside that box. So once you have burned the food and the thermometer tells you how hot did it get in there, that's how you get the number that you put on the label that says calories. Ta-da! But are you having food like explode inside your body right now? I mean, that's kind of a weird idea. I mean, sometimes if you have gas, I guess you might feel like you're going to explode. But I don't think there's like, but that's what happens inside the calorimeter. That paint bucket part, the food just goes kabam, and it blows up. It's crazy. It's kind of happening inside your cells in a very tiny way, because inside all of the cells of your body, in order to make energy, they pull in the oxygen from your breath, and they combine the oxygen with a carbohydrate molecule that is called glucose. Now, my mother, who's watching this today, her name's Cheryl. If you see it, wait, I don't think you guys can see each other's chats, can you? But if Cheryl sends in a chat, I'll see it. And she has a condition called diabetes. So she has to be careful about how many carbohydrates she eats, because glucose is the little tiny carbohydrate that floats around in your blood that your cells pull in and combine with oxygen to make energy. Well, that's like burning stuff, right? Because a fire needs oxygen. See? So it is kind of the same thing. I think that's pretty awesome to think about. Man, when I go out and like run around and do exercise, all my cells are like doing these little tiny chemical explosions inside there to create energy. Oh, Gabriella, I bet your grandma's doing a good job of managing diabetes, though. At least I certainly hope so. So now we know what a calorie is. Here's a guy sitting in front of a whole lot of food because he wrote a blog on a newsletter that was talking about Olympic athletes and how many calories they need every day. So he was showing that an Olympic athlete needs around 12,000 calories a day. And that whole ridiculous plateful, that whole table full of food equals out to that many calories. I mean, I don't think I could eat some of that, but I don't think I could eat all of that even in a day's time. That's a lot of food, man. And when I look at the package of oatmeal that I have here, it's telling me that most people need only 2,000 calories. So now we know one thing about food is that part of it, those carbohydrates, they can get broken down into energy for our bodies to use, and we need oxygen to make that happen. This is the old food pyramid that I used to use, man, like 15 years ago at the Health Museum of Cleveland when I taught this class. And I liked it because it had this little dude walking up the stairs, and that is mentioning energy, right? You burning energy, walking on burning calories. So I liked that one. But alas, they changed it, and now we have a plate. I'm curious to know, could you guys type in the chat for me, do schools in Canada use that plate image to teach nutrition? Because I think it shows up in some textbooks. Oh, Mally said nope. They might have, I don't know, maybe it depends on the school, but that's what the US is using now, is that plate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that plate just because it's a convenient picture that has the different kinds of food on it. But if you ever see a picture of it, now you know what it represents. All right, so now we know calories are the energy from our food. What shall we analyze next? Well, how about this? I'm going to introduce an idea for you guys about when you write a book, when you're a smart person and you write books. This guy wrote a book, and it was all about eating food. And there's a young reader's edition and a grown-ups edition, but they're all pretty easy to read. And he came up with this statement about what kind of food people should eat. He wrote, "Eat food, not too much, mostly plants." Okay, Well, eat food seems pretty logical, like if compared to, say, eating, I don't know, styrofoam or something. Not too much, making sure you're not overstuffing your stomach, because that's no fun. And mostly plants is an interesting statement too. I'm going to show you why this guy thought that those were three statements that make sense. And then we'll decide at the end of the class if we all think, yeah, this is pretty good. This eat food, not too much, mostly plants. Now, here's one thing. Eat food. Here's what he meant. This is a package of what some people in the US might call cheese. But there's a rule in our legal system that says you can't call it a food name if the first couple of ingredients are not the regular ingredients of that food. So in the chat right now, I want you to type, if I was going to make some cheese, what do you all think is the main ingredient of cheese? What's the main thing you make it out of? Milk. There you go. I think probably everybody's going to put in milk because we know that yogurt is also made of milk and cottage cheese, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it should have milk as one of the first ingredients. Let's look at the list and see if it does. You ready? There's the list. I don't see milk as the first ingredient. It says soybean oil. And then I see food starch, which is usually made from corn. So some corn is in there. And then it says whey, and that's the liquidy part. When you squeeze out the solid stuff that is called curds, then you have this liquid stuff that's left called whey. So that's the third ingredient. And that's why in the US they said, nope, you cannot call that cheese. What you have to do, whoops, let me back this up, is you have to call it something else. So they called it American flavored sandwich slices. I think that's pretty entertaining. Thank you, Mally, for catching that comment. Yep. So now we know that sometimes when you're looking at a package of food, if you're a person who's writing books about nutrition, you would say this kind of fake cheese is not as awesome for your body as regular cheese made of milk because it has all these other weirdo things in it. Yep, including a bunch of different kinds of gums if you look at the bottom. And they put those in there to make it stretchy. I know, so I encourage you, next time you go to the grocery store, if you guys are ever hanging out in a grocery store helping to look at groceries, read the labels. It's kind of fun to see what is in that food. And that's why there's a big old label that looks like that on just about every kind of food that comes in a box or a carton or whatever. I mean, if it's just a plain old apple and there's no label on it, well, you can also get on the internet and look up apple nutrition too. Okay, so now we know that calories are the energy part. We know that in order to be called that kind of food, it's supposed to have the right ingredients in it, and we can check out the label to see the ingredients. But what else do we want to know about food? Well, I was talking about that glucose thing, and I want to put that word on the screen for you. There's the word glucose, but it also says glycogen. And glycogen is a form that is stored in your liver. And I want to show you our fake Charlotte's body. Aha, you thought I forgot Charlotte, didn't you? No, I did not. Here is, and I don't mean to say if you eat that kind of fake cheese once or twice is bad for you. It's just, there's not as many good nutrients. And you can eat it if you want. You know, have some other kinds of cheese sometimes too. Hey, Charlotte, right here, there's your liver. So if everybody wants to give your liver a little patty pat pat, you would use your right hand and touch your right side, kind of just above where your belly button is. Hey, buddy. And your liver stores a kind of energy molecule that's called glycogen, and it hangs out in there. So if you're exercising and running around and you're not eating anything and all of the body is going, hey, I need some energy, liver says, no problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break down that glycogen and turn it into glucose. So it floats around in your blood. Woohoo! And then you have energy. And if you really need a lot of energy, there's another organ. Uh-oh, I may have to take these guys out of there. There's another organ. Oh, there goes the liver. That's behind the liver. And it's also behind the stomach. Excuse me, stomach. It's this little orange guy right there. See him, that little orange dude? And that guy right there is called the pancreas. And the pancreas squirts out a hormone, a chemical, into your blood that is called insulin. Insulin helps your body's cells to use the glycogen once it gets turned into glucose and is out in your blood. Isn't that crazy? There's so much chemistry going on inside of our bodies, man. Woo, nuts. But now we know why. If you're going to go exercise and you're like on a sports team or something, sometimes the coach might say, go eat some carbs. Because because they're the easiest molecule for our body to turn into that glucose, and then we have energy. But also why my doctor might tell me, hey, there, Ms. Gamble, you're kind of a couch potato. And I'll say, yeah, I know. So maybe I should eat some fewer carbs. And that way I don't have all that energy coming into my body, getting stored as. I'll show you guys my next specimen. What's long-term storage? What does a bear do if it's going to hibernate? What does it pack onto its body before it goes and hibernates? What do you think? Yeah, fat, exactly. Fat, they eat a lot of food, Amelia, absolutely. And then it turns into fat, yeah. So fat is useful for an animal that needs to not eat for a long time because then they can burn up the fat and they can use it as energy. But if it's an animal like me who's going to go lie on the couch all day, maybe I don't need quite as much calories because then I would not be using them fast enough. And here is this is fake, you guys. I remember I told you if it's real or not. But this is a little model of what 1 pound of fat would look like. You just took the fat out of an animal's body. And then this is what 1 pound of muscle would look like. Wait a minute. I'm not cheating. I'm not holding one next to the kid. Look at this. I'm going to go like that. Look at that. The muscle is so much smaller than the piece of, look, I can totally hide it behind the fat. What is going on here? Well, here's the visual, all right? Muscle is alive, and all of those pieces of your muscles are moving, right? They're stretching and bending and contracting and relaxing, but fat doesn't move. These cells just sit wherever they are. So they're alive, but they're not doing much. And each one of those cells in there is kind of like, if you think about a little kid who's wearing a big, puffy snowsuit, right? And that little kid looks gigantic. And then when you unzip it and they crawl out and you're like, oh, look, that kid's really tiny. The big puffy snowsuit around their body is like the blob of fat that each one of these cells is hanging onto. It's hiding inside of a little, it's called a vacuole. It's the sciencey name for basically a little bubble inside of the cell. So that is all living tissue, moving and doing stuff, using energy. These guys are just hanging out, holding on to the fat and not using it. And that's why they take up more space. If you want to try a little experiment at your house, get permission to mess up your kitchen because I don't want you guys like to go and destroy the kitchen and then get in trouble. But once you get permission, you could put some fat on water and observe how it floats. And then you could put some meat in water and observe how it sinks. And I even got some of my friends in Canada who have access to marine mammal blubber because like here in Ohio, we don't have seals and walruses and whales and other animals like that we can use for food. But some of my friends that are way up in far northern Canada do. And they confirmed for me because they put seal blubber in water and they said, yep, it floats. And then they put a piece of seal meat in water and said, yep, it sinks. And I was like, sweet. Now I have more science information for my classes. Excellent. Oh, Rael, if you live in Nunavut, well, there you go. You've probably observed that phenomenon before. Nice. I love it when there's scientists ready to work in my team chat. Yay. Let's think about this fat idea, though, because sometimes people get this idea in their heads that fat's bad for you. But we know that it's energy, but it also protects our bodies, too. And helps our bodies to absorb different kinds of vitamins. So not all fat is necessarily negative. It just depends on how much of it is on your body and where it is on your body. And then you've got the proteins. I love to eat meat. I'm a big fan. Oh, and I calo-eat. Yeah, so you've probably had access to those materials too. So you could test it out and see for yourself which part of the animal floats, which part of the animal sinks. Sweet. I love it. Home science. And all those things I have on the screen are talking about how important that proteins are. And just for fun, because I like silly weirdo things, oops, before we get to the grains, hold on. No grains yet, get out of there, grains. I wasn't gonna talk about you yet, stop. The grains just were fighting me there. All right, what I wanted to show you about the whole protein thing. You guys did say you like gross stuff, right? When you think about what part of you is protein, we know muscles, because everybody always tells us when we're little kids, right? Eat protein, is good for your muscles. Okay. And we know that you can get protein from other things, not just meat, because there are humans called vegetarians or vegans who choose not to eat animal products, and they still grow and have muscles and are healthy and stuff. And that means, oh, there must be another way to get it. Different kinds of plants have protein. But I wanted to show you a good example. No, my fat just rolled, sorry. Models are falling on the floor. Come back, muscle model. There we go. Here is why proteins are so entertaining to me, because all of your body is a bunch of different kinds of proteins doing different jobs. Example, hold your hand out right now. Find that little web of skin that's right here on your hand and just have fun stretching it. Right, don't hurt your hand, obviously. Or try this. Find your elbow, grab that skin on your elbow, and then kind of experiment for a moment. Like, look, when I straighten my arm out, look at this. Look at this. Look at all this extra. Look at that. Big stretchy piece of skin right there. But then think about other places where you really don't want your skin to stretch too much, like on our faces. Oh my gosh, everybody who gets older starts worrying about, is there a wrinkle here? Can you see that, right? We don't want our skin on our face to be too stretchy, but your elbow, you totally need that to be stretchy, right? Because if it wasn't, oh, it might tear. Ooh, in your ears, that's a funny thought. Yeah, because ears have that cartilage in them. Yeah, but they're definitely covered with some stretchy skin. The stuff that makes up your skin is a protein. One of them is called collagen. One of them is called elastin. Another one is called keratin. There are a bunch, they usually sound like that with an "in" on the end. Yep, exactly. Here's some more skin right here. It could be a little stretchy. Yep, thank you, Mally, for pointing that out. Was that Mally? Or Gabriella? Exactly. And then this one, this mucinex. I know this is a medicine, but if I put my finger over the EX, mucin, there's that ion sound again. Mucin is the name of the protein that your boogers are made out of. And animals that are slimy, like the slime on a fish or a frog or a salamander, slimy animals, slugs and snails, mucin. It's the same protein that our boogers are made out of. Mind blown, right? What? All these animals are making the same protein. And sometimes we make too much of it, and that's why we take this medicine to tell our body, hey, stop making so much mucin. Charlotte, I told you, it's all about the gross, man. I love this stuff. And this stuff right up here, my hair, everybody's hair, your hair, my hair on your arms, on your hair, whatever it is, that's mostly keratin, because keratin is tough and it doesn't absorb water. Your fingernails, that's keratin too. And so are birds' feathers and snake or other reptile scales. And birds' beaks too, not the bony part, but the part on the outside, keratin. Same stuff that your hair is made of. So cool. And that's why proteins are pretty doggone important. You got to have enough of them coming in, because most of your body is a bunch of different kinds of proteins. What did you say, Amelia? You thought there were small people that did all that work. I missed the context of that question, but that's an entertaining thing to think about. When I was a super tiny kid, I thought there was a little tiny guy inside my television who was making all of the TV programs. It worked for me. Hey, there's a plate and it says grains. Now, grains are usually the seeds from a grass. And remember that the guy who wrote that book said, eat food, not too much, mostly plants. And when I look at this plate, I noticed that I might have done that too fast. Let me back that up. There's grains, and there's vegetables, and there's fruits. And all three of those are parts of plants. Cheerios, yep. Which I think, gosh, I haven't looked at a box of Cheerios for a long time, but I think they're made of wheat. And Cheerios say they're heart healthy because they're whole grains, exactly. Fruits are the parts of a plant that have seeds inside of them. And then vegetables are the leaves or the stems or the tubers on the roots or some other part of the plant that doesn't have seeds inside of it. But grains, there we go. Grains are very specifically the seeds of a grass plant. I'm going to show you my personal favorite grass plant that I love to eat very much. Where's the box? Oh, here it is over here. Here we go. This grass right now. I know what you're thinking. You're like, what? Strange lady from Ohio? This is popcorn. It's not a grass. What it is? Look it up. About something like 20,000 years ago. Down south of where I am in what is now called Mexico, there were humans who discovered a little plant called teosinte. And teosinte had little teeny weeny, eensy weensy seed pods that are about that big. But the humans realized, oh, we can eat that. It tastes good and it keeps us healthy, so we're going to eat it more. And they started growing it, and they grew it, and they selectively grew it. So the seeds got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we call that plant corn. Ta-da! Or maize, if you wanted to go back to one of the older names for it. And if you want to jump online and look up what did ancient corn look like, you'll find all kinds of cool. Don't go now. Stay here because we have. But I want to draw for you on my little. I'm going to use my other camera now. I want to draw for you what that teosinte seed looked like. So right now what I'm doing is I'm sharing my screen with the iPad, and I'm hoping that it's working. So Mally or Katie, if something is funky right now, please feel free to yell at me and say it's not working.
No, it looks great.
Yay, so there's my drawing pad. Okay, I'm gonna draw for you right here what you should look for if you would like to do a little investigation of a kernel of corn. Because when you're thinking about a kernel of corn, it's kind of shaped like this. And it has a little oval going on and kind of a little dippity-doo right there that's a little darker than the rest. So imagine that's one kernel of corn. And then the very tip of it right here is usually a little bit darker. So what's going on with that whole kernel of corn is that the big part here that's yellow, that's the fiber. We're going to talk about that here in a second. And the fiber is kind of like the jacket holding the whole seed together. And then the yellow stuff on the inside is the carbohydrate. But this little nub over here, the little tippity tip right there, that's the embryo of the plant. And when you hear the word embryo, I usually think of a baby, like before a baby's born. That's exactly it. That little nugget, that little nubbin on the end of every single corn kernel, that's a baby corn plant that hasn't started growing yet. And when you plant it, the yellow stuff in here becomes the food, and it gets all sucked up by the embryo as it grows. And then that fiber part, the jacket, just kind of falls apart, and it disintegrates into the soil. But if you eat that corn seed, I noticed now that was kind of sideways. See, learning every time I do this, you guys, making sure I'm not getting my audience all crazy with sideways pictures and stuff. The fiber that gets like stuck in your teeth, you know, that part of popcorn that's super annoying, that part is really insanely healthy for an animal that eats it because it does two things that help our bodies to stay healthy. It's pretty awesome. So let's see, which one should I talk about first? Since my mom is watching, what would she do? Because she's a nurse and she teaches this stuff. It helps your guts and it helps your heart. Let's go with guts first. Okay. When you swallow that fiber off of the seed, and fiber is just a funny way to say the part of the plant that we cannot digest, that we just poop it out because it's nothing that our bodies can break down and reassemble into a human. And only plants make carbohydrates. Another silly way to say, and only plants make this fiber stuff. It's a really complex carbohydrate. Another silly way to say that would be to ask the whole audience, hey audience, here's this picture of the corn seed I just drew, but it's on paper. So can I eat this paper? What do you think? Can I? Pretty sure I can. Yeah. Gabrielle says not again. Yeah, did you see me do another class, Gabrielle, where I pulled this move and started munching on paper? Because it is one of my favorite moves. So yeah, and I love doing that. Oh, you're telling me I can. Mally says trick question. Well, kinda, because I can eat the paper. No, there's not any nutritional value in the paper. So no doctor's going to tell you, hey, go eat some paper. They're not going to do that. They are going to tell you, eat a bunch of plants. Well, that's weird because the paper is made from a plant, right? It's trees, isn't it? Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If I swallow this piece of paper, I haven't decided if I'm going to yet or not because I have a pretty big mouthful of paper. Is my mother okay with me? Well, she can't really do anything about it now, can she? Because she's just on the computer. But Mom, I don't eat that much paper. So, you know. When I swallow this paper, because now I'm going to, because you guys have challenged me, it goes into your small intestine, and there's no chemicals in there that can break it down. So it's like, get out, leave. And then Melly, stop, you're telling on me. And then the paper ends up in here, and your large intestine, oh, I know, I lost the liver. It's over here. I just didn't stick it back in yet. It's sitting on the table. And as the paper is moving through here, it absorbs moisture. It absorbs water. I mean, you've all dropped a piece of paper in water. And Mom, stop talking about, this is why you don't invite your mother to these meetings. Man, so when it absorbs water, it kind of puffs up a little bit. You go to the bathroom. That's why there's medicines like Metamucil that a doctor might tell somebody who's having a hard time going poop, hey, go use this stuff, because it's just fiber. It's the stuff from plants that we can't digest. So that's one thing that it helps, is it helps your intestines. But it gets even cooler, because it helps your heart. Now, Charlotte, I could pull the little fake heart out of this tiny human of yours. I could extract your heart. Yeah, I could do that. Whoop. Or your heart will just fall apart in my hands. Sorry about that. Here's the back half of the heart. Oh, it's so cute. Come here. There we go. Now I've extracted your heart, Charlotte. And this is ridiculous because look how small this is. This is not sufficient for this class. No. But it does look like a real heart. I'm gonna let you, I know, Charlotte, I promise I'll put all your parts back in when I'm done. But this, we're gonna compare this to a real heart. Yeah, I'm pretty casual about it at this point. Been doing it a long time. Because guess what? I have a real human heart here in my studio. And we're gonna go take a look at it under the other camera because I want you to see them both side by side and I need my hands free for that. So here we go. Dun, dun, dun. Here is the adorable tiny, tiny elastic heart. And if you guys are ready, here we go. This is an actual, for real, no kidding around, human heart. Dun, dun, dun. Holy mackerel, the strange things I have in my house. Now, let me adjust this a little bit. There we go. And you can see how there's this big muscle part down here, but then all this weird tan colored stuff. That is the great big, huge artery that is called the aorta. And on our little adorable tiny one, they kind of cut it off, so it's right there. The aorta, whoosh, is how the blood comes out of the heart, starts flowing all around your body. This heart has been plastinated. That means soaked in plastic to preserve it so it will never decompose or fall apart or anything. It's a very weird chemical process. And as I rotate it here, you can see there's the side view. It is cut in half because we use it to teach dissection programs too. But I'm going to pause here on the back because you can see this squiggly little, it's kind of colored pink. That's an artery that's on the outside of the heart. You can zoom in on that just a tad. Ooh, there we go. There's that little artery right there. And the blue ones, like these guys over here, those are veins. On this particular model, what the scientists wanted to do was they wanted to inject red-colored dye into the arteries and blue-colored dye into the veins. But they kind of messed up on this side because you can see how there's all kinds of blue down here. That is not the right color. The heart muscle should all be kind of reddish. But here's where the plants come in. These little arteries, they're super important because blood has to come from the aorta and sneak down here and go through that artery and give the heart its own blood supply. If that doesn't happen, oh my gosh, well then that little artery could get clogged and that person could have a heart attack. So that's no good. But here's the cool thing. The stuff that clogs up our arteries is called cholesterol. Yet another C word, right? Because we had calories and carbohydrates, and now we got cholesterol in there. Cholesterol, you're supposed to have some floating around in your blood, that's fine. But if you have too much of it, well, then it causes problems. And it can clog up those little tiny arteries. And that's no good. But fiber from plants, some of it dissolves in your blood and it sticks to that cholesterol and it actually transports it away. And a lot of it gets transported to your liver where it's broken down and it's not dangerous to your heart anymore. Oh no. So eating plants, ta-da, helps that your heart will work properly. How about that, man? And keep your heart beating. So when somebody tells you, hey, eat more plants, there is cool science behind it. Well, my friends, we have gone through a lot of stuff and we're sneaking up on the 2:15 mark here. So I'm going to jump back into my old PowerPoint here for just another couple of slides, and then we will wrap it up. We already talked about some plants. And we talked about all these words. Now you guys can see the words up there that I've been discussing all the time, the carbs and the fiber. And we'll shift it to this go. I forgot I had this slide in there talking about how fiber collects up all of that waste so you can go to the bathroom easier. And drinking water is also super important. I have a whole jar of water right here next to me all the time because so much of your body is liquidy. But guess what? If you eat a lot of plants, hey, you get a lot of water from those plants. And we discussed some of the vitamins and minerals that we get from our foods as well. And I'm going to wrap it up with that calcium one right there. Oh, I saw something go past. Wait. I have to go back because I can't see all of your chat when I'm sharing my screen. Ooh, I saw something about Cleveland. Oh, nice. Yeah, Charlotte. Yay. I have not eaten at Progressive Field, but my neighbor works there. So guess what? I get to go check out cool things at Progressive Field sometimes. Okay, here's the last specimen I wanted to show you guys before I let you all escape. That calcium answer that was there. Because on the plate, we did all the plants and we talked about protein and the boogers, right, the hair and stuff. But then there's that, they have a dairy section. And guess what? My body does not like milk. They call it lactose intolerance because that means that your body can't digest a very specific sugar called lactose. So I don't drink milk very often. I might use spinach or other dark green vegetables. Ocean vegetables are really good. They have a lot of calcium in them. And calcium is the name of the mineral that our bones are made out of. And there's the word calcium on this medicine Tums. Most people just think of this as a way to get rid of your upset stomach, but see we does have calcium. Yeah. All ocean plants have a good level of calcium and potassium too, that are both very useful for building bones. Yeah, man. So if you like sea vegetables, yeah, my mom loves it because she's a big sushi fan. She knows it. There's the word calcium right there. I'm going to show you what happens with that calcium. Ready? Charlotte, I can't use your little plastic body for this because he has no bones, poor guy. This is an actual human bone. And it's the tibia, the bone that goes from your knee on this side down to your foot. So your ankle would be here, your toes would be sticking up like that. So it's somebody's leg and the knee is over there. Right? Here's the foot. And if I rotate it this way, you can see that, look at that edge, man. Ooh, that's a sharp edge. This is what, there we go. This edge right here is along the front of the bottom of your leg. That explains why when you smack the front of your leg, your shin on something, it hurts so much. Look at that, man. It's a super sharp edge of bone. But I'm going to swivel it this way and hold it as still as I possibly can. I'm hoping that the picture is clear enough that you can see on the broken sections how it almost looks like coral in there. All those tiny holes, man. And inside all those tiny holes, that is where the living cells of your bones hang out. And they pull the calcium in from your blood and they build this whole structure that we call the bone. And then the bones hold on to the calcium. And then if you need some in your blood, because calcium also helps your muscles to contract properly, your bones can release it again. So your bones are kind of like a calcium bank, always pulling in calcium and then letting it go again, pulling it in, letting it go again. And as you get older and older and older, that process slows down. And that's why very older people have to be careful about not falling because their bones might break a little easier than younger kids. There's one more close up on the end of that bone. It's kind of strange having all these parts of humans in my house. I appreciate their donations. Okay, my friends, I have thrown tons of information at you, and I can hang for another minute or two if anybody has any last-minute rando questions about nutrition and how it works. It does look like a sponge. You're right, Jordan. It totally does. So I'll toss it over to the chat crew. Anybody has any last-minute questions? Acid reflux. My mom has that too. I should make her answer it, but then she'd have to like type out the whole long answer. Well, here we go. We'll have acid reflux be our big finale here. Charlotte, since we were talking about your body, it seems fair. Now I've taken your stomach out. There, put it back in. There's your stomach, and that, see how there's a little pink part right there? That is the valve that opens up and lets food come down from your esophagus, bloop, and go into your stomach. See the tan one? That's the esophagus right there. So normally food comes down this way. That little tube opens up, it lets the food go bloop into your stomach, and then it closes again. Acid reflux means when that little valve isn't quite working right, and it's staying open a little bit and it's letting acid creep back up. And if it gets up here, it can mess around with both your esophagus, your swallowing tube, and it can mess around with the rest of your windpipe too. And it can give you a cough because that acid is hurting the skin in your throat. That's what it is. That little valve is just not staying closed all the way and acid can creep back up again. Ooh, Mally's asking about the Bannock and calcium. Thank you for, okay, this is bonus round, cool Canadian moment because y'all are my favorite humans in the whole planet. Here we go. My friend Mally, look at this. Look what she sent me. The Canada Food Guide. And when I was reading this book, calcium was factored into it because I didn't know the word Bannock. I didn't know what that was. And one of my friends in Canada had to tell me, duh, it's bread. And I was like, oh, okay. It makes sense to me. But there's some instructions here on the way that you make your Bannock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this under my other camera because I don't think I can get this one to zoom in close enough. And we will have a look at what does the Canadian Food Guide say about calcium and Bannock. Well, what it says is, let me slide this up a little bit. There. Here's the picture of Bannock. If I zoom in on that a little closer, no. It specifically says Bannock made with baking powder. I had to poke around a little bit and learn about baking powder because I know that these sea vegetables get their calcium from the ocean water where they're growing. And I know all these animal parts and other plants, same thing, they get their calcium from either food they're eating. And I was like, what's up with this baking powder situation? Well, guess what? If you make Bannock with baking powder has calcium in it. Oh, there you go. And that means that you're making sure that you get your calcium with that bread product. See? Pays to read the instructions or the labels. It really does. Because food labels will tell you all that stuff. Hey, man. Thanks for reminding me of that, Mally. I appreciate that. Oh, Gabrielle says, I don't even know what Bannock. See, I didn't know what it was either. It's a bread. It's a special kind of bread that is a little less poofy, a little less yeast than other breads. Yeah, but I do love me some bread. In fact, I'm gonna go have me some lunch later. Gabby, I'm coming to your house. You can make some Bannock for me.
Lee, thank you so much. And what I'll do for the students is I'll put a recipe for Bannock on your page, on the Cleveland Museum page. So if they don't have a Bannock recipe, they can take a look because it is really, really good. Charlotte and Isaiah would like to know, what is your favorite food, Lee?
My personal favorite food? Oh my goodness, there are so many to choose from. But I'm kind of with my mom. I really like raw fish and I really like sushi and I like the salmon and the tuna sushis. Octopus is one of my favorites because it's weird and stretchy. I'm a huge seafood fan. I see ramen noodles. That's my brother's favorite food. I think he's pretty much made of ramen noodles.
And Cheryl, oh, yeah, that's your mom, like salmon and sushi. And Gabriella thought you were going to say paper.
Paper. Yeah, poor Gabriella. If you've seen more than one program I've done, eating paper is like my #1 go-to move when I'm talking about digestion. It is. I think I'm part goat. My brother's nickname is Goat. I should steal it from him.
That's funny. Well, the good thing is, boys and girls, we have Lee coming back again. Over and over, and we have to talk about June. But next time, I think she's going to show her snake.
That's right. Lebowski's coming up pretty soon. Awesome. So
we're going to learn all about snakes from Lee. I know it's going to be awesome, and he's going to make his first appearance on Connected North at home.
Yep.
Yeah, and this is going to be so cool. And then we'll have her back for another couple sessions to talk about what you guys want to talk about, because we love Lee. Everybody loves Lee, and she always teaches us great things. And I love how you incorporate. Oh, we can't. Oh, gosh.
There's my snake in my bathtub. There he is. Snake in a bathtub.
Snakes. It has to be snakes. Indiana Jones. So we're going to really enjoy that. And we can't wait for that. And we'll talk to you soon, Lee. And thanks for bringing your mom along.
Oh, happy to have her along. Thanks for letting us have her.
And
Thanks
Mom,
so much, Lee.
come anytime. And we'll see you guys soon, maybe for Ovi's session. It's going to be drawing. I'm not sure. I think it's personal logos today. So
It is, yep.
great.
Cool.
And
Bye, my friends.
Safe. Thank you, guys. Bye, Lee.